Hello, everyone, and welcome to our coverage of the summit. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and with me, as always, Chappell. How you doing, Chappell?
Taran, I'm great. I'm great. We got to kick it last week. And honestly, while we were kicking it in New York, I met a lot of the Summit fans who listened to this podcast who were saying they were really enjoying it, enjoying our coverage. They had a good laugh at Bo, RIP Bo. Yeah, I'm excited to see what's coming next and what we got to talk about for episode 4.
Yes, we're here to talk about episode 4. And man, I'm still chasing the highs of Bo. I got to tell you.
It's gonna be tough to reach that mark. I really thought this episode we were gonna have a moment of that with Jeannie having to go across this steep ledge by herself. I really thought, oh, okay, you're by yourself. We're gonna see some action, but we didn't get it. Not quite yet. And so we'll see what happens.
Well, yeah, we'll see. No action. I was wondering, like, okay, if they make them cut the rope, how would they fall?
Yeah.
This is the expectation that you have given me. Summit,
hmm
I want
They
more
set the bar high.
falls.
The bar is set very high. They even gave us a flashback to Jeff cutting the ropes, because everyone's saying, oh, you have to do
Mm.
this in pairs. If I'm by myself, who knows who will kill me this time, right? And so they are leading us to believe it could happen again, but not this time. Maybe next episode we might actually see somebody get chopped. But right now it seems like they're just going to allow the people to really lean on their own skill set and their own strength to make it up the mountain. And even some of their social games is working. So we got some stuff to talk about, just not as exciting as poor Bo. Poor Bo. That's
Yeah,
all I'll say.
it seems like the Mountain's Keeper is now just likes to watch
Yeah.
real close.
Kind of freaky. Yeah, a little bit. Flying the helicopter dangerously close to people as they hang off the side of a mountain will never be okay with me. But like you said, the mountain keeper has a thing for that. Like, all right, let me see as close as I can get without killing this person. And so we saw the mountain keeper approach, and the mountain keeper has rewards for people who are brave. And so, we're getting different, I guess, iterations of the mountain keeper throughout. But for the most part, they're just hanging around, checking it out.
Am I the only one that's like, because it is the Mountain's Keeper,
Mhm.
but it feels weird to me to say that every time. Like I grammatically I can see where it makes sense. It's the Mountain's Keeper. It's the keeper. It's in possession of the mountain, I guess, right? The Mountain's Keeper, or
Mhm.
the Mountain's Keeper. But Mountain Keeper just feels better to me. Every time I hear Mountain's Keeper casually, I'm just like, what do you mean?
Yeah, well, that's a good question because Mountain Keeper definitely sounds like a title. Like you were bestowed upon this. Like you
Mm,
are the keeper of the mountain. This is your job. But Mountain's Keeper sounds like this mountain belongs to someone.
exactly.
And I'm trying to figure out, well, who could it possibly belong to? It's just the mountain. So I really want to know how that person owns the mountain, and then also why they have a helicopter. Why are they so involved in this? Do you think we'll ever get a reveal of who the Mountain Keeper actually is?
I don't know. We've speculated before, but what I'm curious about is why every time the Mountain's Keeper shows up, there are dramatic shots of Manu Bennett.
Yeah, he's watching on like
as
he's
though as
he's
though he gets
flying
the
over.
bat signal. Yeah.
hmm Yeah, I like it. He's summoning his Zord. He's like, oh yeah, the Mountain's Keeper. He whispers into his watch, and then the helicopter flies over. Yeah, exactly. They make sure to cut to Manu right at the perfect moment, so you see that it's definitely not Manu Bennett. Yeah, he's summoning this. He's like, it's his thing. They're like in tandem. I don't know. I don't even know if there's a reveal that could actually make it make sense where we would care who the Mountain Keeper is. Like, we don't have a lore behind this.
Can you imagine if in the finale the Mountain's Keeper walks out of the helicopter and Manu Bennett's like, "It's time. It's time for you to learn who the Mountain's Keeper is." And the Mountain's Keeper comes out of the helicopter and they take off their helmet. And it's Manu Bennett. Also,
Yes,
there's two of them.
two of them. Manu Bennett has a twin. What if we found out there was a twin twist and Manu Bennett does have a twin? And so that's why they keep cutting to Manu Bennett to throw you off. It can't possibly be Manu Bennett unless it's his brother, Manu Bennett.
Exactly.
It's right there.
Uh, all right. So in this episode, we have a couple of things. Again, strange show in that we have multiple stages of the episode. They're very different shows in one episode. The first part of this episode is that snow has arrived to the mountain,
Mhm.
and they're gonna get snowed in. It's whited out, and what I found very funny is that they acted like the contestants were in charge of making the decision of whether they can go or not. And I feel like there's no shot they were actually in charge of that.
You mean to tell me that if these people wanted to just go out in zero visibility and climb a mountain, that the producers would just be like, "Okay, let's see what happens." It it felt like that. It felt like they really had to sit around and make a choice. Dusty's looking up like, "I don't know. I really can't make it out. You guys, we might have to sit this one out." And everybody's like, "Oh man, but we're gonna lose so much time." It's like, yeah, well, you can't see anything. What choice do you have? With them having 14 days to do this entire thing, what are the odds that this happens so many times that they like just mathematically cannot finish?
I have a feeling if it happened too many times, we wouldn't see it in the edit.
Yeah, they spent the whole day. They legit took the day off for day what 5, and just was like, all
Mhm.
right, well, I guess we'll be back tomorrow, and that was it. We didn't get anything.
Which really goes to show you that the urgency is not really there for this mission, right? Like they were just able to take a whole day off with like Manu Bennett wasn't even like, that's really gonna screw you over up the mountain this time. It was like, oh, you did good work to catch up. Yeah, good job.
You're still behind. You're still behind. Make no mistake. You're still behind. But also, I don't know.
Are you
He's like finger
behind if you
waggy.
can take a whole day off and still not be screwed? Are you really behind at that point?
I really don't think so. It wasn't day 5, it was day 6. But yeah, so to just skip from day 6 and says like, yeah, 16 degrees out here, 32-mile-per-hour winds. There's nothing we can do. But tomorrow, it's not going to be 16 degrees or 32-mile-per-hour winds. So we'll try it tomorrow. Pumpkin looks out over the horizon, says, I think we can see. I think we can go. But it doesn't feel like it's even that cold for them. I feel like it's showing me two different things. Like, one, this is treacherous and the mountains are unpredictable. But also, if you wait a day or so, it'll be all right.
And also, apparently, North Face just keeps you that warm, I guess. I don't know.
Man, sponsorship is like crazy. Every time they cut to that North Face logo, I'm like, I gotta get me some of that. I'll be all right.
They do finally get going. It's the same story though of like, all right, there's some fast people and some slow people, and the slow people are going slow and the fast people are going fast. Except this time Robert's gonna hang back and do some, socializing with the slow people. That's really most of the walking, other than just like don't roll your ankles, please.
Yeah, well, we find out Patty is one of the slow people, which we already knew. But Patty also
Mhm.
has an ally in Dennis, who is one of the fast people. And I think this is going to be very important for Dennis because he needs all the allies he can get. Robert, who does not have the allies that he thought he had anymore, he has no choice but to hang out with Patty because the people are not happy with Robert for flipping his vote against Jeff. They're like, we might be able to forgive Dennis for just straight up lying and saying, I never said Jeff's name. But Robert, you going with the majority, trying to stay in the numbers. We hate that even more. So you're on the bubble, buddy. And so that's why he's spending so much time with Patty.
Yeah, I think the issue with Robert wasn't necessarily just that he flipped his vote, but I think that like, they had that conversation with him on the way to the Mountains Keeper's bag when they had the food choice, and they were like, "Hey, you need to pick a side." And he was like, "I am gonna pick a side. Don't worry." But then when the vote came, even though his vote, technically picked a side, he was still trying to be like, oh, but I'm still with you guys. I just need the numbers aren't there. And so ultimately, he kind of picked no side. And so both sides wanted him gone.
Yeah. They're like, we're good with him going. I mean, we can't really trust him that much. And then it also doesn't help that there's this twist that will put him on the hot seat in a way that I think that maybe if they had a majority vote of everybody, he might have been able to survive. But it's hard to tell because he's on damage control the entire episode, pretty much. And he's starting to rub people the wrong way. I think once he does this vote thing, everything else that he does that annoys people a little bit is now being amplified. He's enemy number one now that Jeff is gone. So whenever Robert says something like, "Oh, he's such a camp counselor," and then they cut to Robert, lower third, camp counselor, it's like, I don't think it feels genuine. He's like, "I'm just genuinely trying to make sure everybody's okay." Robert can do no right with these people anymore. And so it was just a matter of time before they clipped him.
Yeah, it was funny too, because like I felt like the things he was doing weren't even that bad.
No, he was just being Robert. He had been like this since day one.
Yeah. So that's obviously the social strategy portion. I honestly think that portion was the best of the episode. Even though I felt like I wanted more of it. It really feels like this is Becky Lee's game. Like she is just running the show. The fact that she was able to take out Jeff and then steal all of his allies right after, they were like, all of a sudden Pumpkin is like Becky Lee's girl. It's like, wait, she just took out your dude though.
Yeah, Amy too. Amy's like, my number one was Jeff, so I guess I gotta hang out with Becky Lee now. And so Becky Lee's just smiling and grinning while everybody's looking over it like, that dirty Dennis. How did he? I can't believe him. He's such a liar. Look at Robert playing both sides. Luckily, we have Becky Lee here pulling all the strings who will keep us safe. She's doing great. I think that the mark of a good winner edit is that you can do something so dastardly last episode, and then this episode, nobody mentions you as a threat. Nobody mentions you as the cause of those things. Everybody seemingly just came running back to her for safety. So I would see it would be pretty tough to get Becky Lee out at this point.
Yeah, and the way also that she was trying to orchestrate this vote to be like, hey, you should vote for Dennis, and then we will vote for Robert, and that will hide the fact that we're together, hide our numbers. It's just like she's clearly playing on another level. These people, like, that's great for like they're voting. You're gonna get them to vote for somebody that's going to stay.
Yeah.
Like really? And they were gonna go for it. And they're like looking at you as their ally. Yeah, she is very clearly in the driver's seat here. I think that she now still has Dennis as this big kind of like distraction shield, as like the dastardly player who got caught lying, the known liar, and that's all like super solid for us. It's hard to see, like, obviously there's plenty of mountain to climb, but 2 episodes ago we were like, Becky Lee's the one to watch out for, and I think that has not changed.
Yeah, voting out Jeff, I was definitely like, what are y'all doing? Like, not so to say that it was a awful move. I just didn't understand what the urgency was in voting out Jeff. It's like, you need the strength. You're gonna need somebody. I bet Janine is thinking, oh God, or Jeannie is thinking like, hey, had I not voted out Jeff, maybe he would have partnered with me, Jeannie. And so I was like, why are y'all rushing to get rid of him? But now that they really are looking at people like Becky Lee, Dennis, Nick as like, I don't even know if we can lose these people right now. Like, I don't really care for them too much, but we don't have Jeff anymore. So who's going to help us get up the mountain? We saw Nick will actually lift Patty up the mountain at some point, or no, Amy up the mountain at some point, like physically just grab her and pull her up. It's like, yeah, now that you've gotten rid of some of the strength, you're really going to need people like Becky Lee in the game. And so it's working out for her right now. I don't see it flipping on her anytime soon. And we also don't know what the limit is to the amount of people who can make it to the summit. So right now, she looks like she's in a good spot, and I don't see that changing.
Yeah. So that honestly ended up being fairly straightforward. I think the vote, it felt like we're setting up the Robert boot, the whole episode. So I want to talk about the challenge here, the climbing, because how this worked was they had to like do this. They called it a straight vertical climb, but I'm pretty sure I saw them go up once, and mostly we're just going horizontal.
Like, I saw that too. Yeah.
um, but not to diminish the challenge of this. I'm sure it was very challenging and very scary. We've talked about this before, but like that little bit where you do go up, we saw them all have all struggle with it. Like it's again a spot where you're not just climbing straight up, you're climbing up and over onto a thing, which makes you feel so much less secure. And it's why I think a lot of them got like petrified in that moment. But they have to pair up, and one person is not going to be in a pair. And the way that they edited this was so funny. Just like Jeannie from the start, just being like, guys, I would like to partner up with somebody who's not scared of heights, please. And then everyone be like, being like, so us?
Yeah. So I'm with Nick. Anybody
Yeah,
else? Yeah.
I
So
got
Amy.
Becky Lee over
Yeah.
here. Jeannie's like, but what? Okay, but what about Robert?
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm with someone else.
Yep.
It's like, oh man, well, what about anybody,
No.
guys? And they're
No.
just like ignoring her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like the more she talked about, like, hey, I would like somebody who's not afraid of heights. Somebody else would say, you know what I would like? Somebody who's not afraid of heights. Anybody? And they're like, yes, me, pick me. It's like, oh, okay, cool. What are you gonna do, Jeannie? I mean, they know that there's an odd number of people. You have to be in a pair. So it's kind of giving Bo all over again, where everybody is aware that one person is about to get left out, except for the person who's about to get left out. And she might even been acutely aware of it because she was really the only person who seemingly had some urgency to finding a partner. Just nobody wanted to work with her. She's one of the weaker people. And it's going to take two people to get up this mountain. You're going to want somebody who's brave, who's not going to be shaken by the heights, but you're also going to want somebody who, is relatively strong at these things. And it doesn't look like Jeannie fits either of those categories initially, so nobody wanted her. And kudos to her. She ends up proving everybody wrong. But I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily like a great thing, considering you shouldn't be in a spot where everybody wants to leave you behind anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was not great for Jeannie. It was very clear to her after this that she doesn't really have a person who is looking out for her, and may want to reevaluate her allegiances, though she does end up ultimately, I think, going with what the majority wanted in the vote situation. So they're paired up. They have to go up this mountain. What did you think of the vertical climb, Chappelle?
Well, you know me. I'm like, nope, I'm good. I'm good. There, because like, even if it wasn't that high, which it did look like it might have been high off of like high because it's on a mountain, but not high
Mhm.
off of like whatever they were climbing from. Like you said, they only go vertical up like once. But even then, it was a really cool shot of them like hanging off the side of a mountain. Even if it was just very low, you wouldn't have known. And you could tell that they were all very afraid. The whole time I was thinking, okay, we finally reached the climbing portion of this, because I think for the most part it's been hiking. There's been hiking and then there's been a ladder. But now I think they're actually starting to climb a little bit into the mountain.
Which
And
is
I
funny
start,
because I'm pretty sure they're going down in this
yeah,
section
yeah,
of the route.
right. What is that like? So they were just climbing up to go around the corner so they could go back down, so they could go back to hiking, right?
Mhm.
They haven't actually reached the portion where, okay, we're going straight up the mountain. We got to get to the peak. So it was very interesting because I'm thinking, okay, once you get through this one, this feels like the bunny slope, right? You get through this first, and then like, okay, we're gonna start to throw you into the deep end later on. So I personally would not have been okay with doing this. But I've already said this. These people are braver than me. But you have plenty of climbing experience. Do you think this would be something that would be like a little bit easier for you, obviously, because you have the experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I mean, from what we saw, this probably wouldn't have been too bad. And I don't like being like the guy that's like, oh, this would have been easy, but like,
This is nothing. It's
uh,
just a mountain.
I think that like the hardest part about this looked like just the fear of it, right?
Mm,
And that little spot where you feel like, and even just like walking through, you're strapped in. We've talked about this before, but like, it's we saw Theron go with Dusty, and they both kind of slip on the horizontal part and get kind of caught by the rope a little bit. And honestly, I think that's better because you're testing that you're strapped in, and that if you do fall, you're not actually falling to your death. And once you feel that, once you feel yourself being caught, I think you're going to feel a lot more comfortable in the harder parts, where it's even scarier technically.
Mhm.
And so, I think that, they had these big sort of like handhold and footholds. And there was that one moment where they're climbing over where the foothold was kind of high, and it was a little hard to see. Um, so I think you saw that like the more, I guess, experienced people didn't have too much of an issue. Honestly, the scariest part would probably have been once you get past it and you're with somebody else trying to haul them up with a
Yeah.
stable position. That would have been very scary, I think, because if they like shift and you lose your footing, then you could slip, and that would feel very scary, I think, because your hands wouldn't be on anything. But in terms of like actual difficulty, it's obviously very hard to tell without actually being there. But I think it was probably fine.
Yeah, I was very impressed with the people who were able to reach down and grab other people. Like I think Becky Lee did a good, like gave Pumpkin a hand at some point. Like I
Holding the
said,
rope
yeah,
was smart. That's
yeah.
then you have a stable base to work from.
And then obviously Nick is able to just like lift Amy up because there are a few people just like the heights thing really started to get to them, and so it's like when you're focused on the climbing, it's really hard to focus if you're terrified of falling, right? Like it's like if you have already erased out of your mind that like, okay, I'm probably not gonna fall, then you can focus a lot more. And I think there are moments where that wavers, right? And then you get to a harder part, and then the fear of heights comes rushing back in. And like you said, they were petrified, just hanging on the side of the mountain. Like, I'm just gonna sit here. I forgot who it was. Just like I'm just gonna lay here until somebody comes and get to me at first. Might have been Jenny.
Jenny,
It's
yeah.
like, yeah, someone's gonna have to come pick me up because I don't know how to get off of this. But eventually they all do it. And I was very impressed with Jeannie because I think they were fine with Jeannie not making it. They're like, all right, look, if somebody's got to get left behind and not making it, it's okay with it being her. But she was great because not only did she do this, but she reminded them every 2 seconds that she doesn't have a partner. She's like, yeah, ooh, this would be so much easier if you hadn't left me behind. Oh my God, it's the fact that I made it up here without any help. And now here I am sitting across from y'all looking at your partners. And I just didn't have a partner to look across at and say that we did a good job together. I was like, yes, Jeannie, milk it, make them feel awful.
You're cheering for me now, but you tried to leave me behind. I know you
You
tried to
tried to leave me
bow me.
behind. Yeah, you tried to bow me. That's not okay.
Yeah. What's funny about this, I think, it felt to me like it was easier to do without somebody trying to pull you up. Because hear
Oh,
me out. Once they started trying to pull people up, especially like Amy, like certain other ones, like you get out of position and you can't get your
mhm.
foot in the right spot, and now you're just being like dragged up. You can't re-grab anything else because you can't let go of the hands.
Yeah,
And now so your arms are just locked in, your feet are just flailing, and you're just like, it's actually, I don't think, a great place to be. Like there's definitely some help, I think, again, like the Becky Lee method, where it's just like you're just stationary, you just have a hand that they can grab and use as a hold.
mhm.
Like that can be helpful, but like the trying to pull people up thing, I don't think was actually helpful. I think it actually made it harder.
Yeah.
So I think in some ways Jeannie had a better go at this than some of the other people that were dragged up. And of course, for them, they never experienced the easier way, so they're just like, "You saved me," but I think it actually made it a little harder.
Jeannie just wanted the moral support. She just wanted somebody to be like, "Come on, Jeannie, you can do it." When in reality, these people are like, "I mean, she doesn't do it. She doesn't do it." Like,
Listen,
what it?
Jeannie is writing down her list,
Mhm.
her Arya Stark list, and they better watch out.
Well, I'm concerned because Jeannie gets a lot of power at the end of this episode. But the last time we saw someone done like this, it was Bo. Bo was left behind. He made
Mhm.
it through. And then Bo was left behind again and he got his rope cut. And so I'm thinking, Jeannie, if you were dead last this time, who's to say that you won't get left out of the numbers next time, or that there'll be a issue where you're picked last again? Because we see some people have some very clear allies. I think Patty's always going to have Dennis caping for her. Amy's got Nick caping for her. At the same time, she's got Becky Lee punking. But no one is really putting their neck out on the line to make sure that Jeannie isn't last. So I think she should be worried. If she gets any other abilities from the Mountains Keeper, she should definitely try to use them to make sure that she's not at the back of the pack.
Yeah, it did feel like this twist fell a little flat. I get where they were going with it, but I think that I think the thing about creating a social strategy game is that you need to be very careful about incentives, because people will break your game as much as possible.
Mhm.
And you can see where on the drawing board, this is fun. It's like, oh, leaders versus followers. And the person that was left behind chooses between the two groups. But the thing is, and we see this here, that Jeannie was the person that was left behind, the most vulnerable feeling person, the most susceptible to falling in line with the majority, who is offering her like, listen, you do what we want, we'll bring you in. And so like ultimately I think the thing just gets a little broken here. She chooses what they want, they vote out the person they wanted to vote out anyway. And they move forward. I think that like what I was honestly kind of hoping for, because that's certainly a fair way to do it for these people to
Mhm.
just continue their dominance. But a more fun way to do it would have been, okay, Jeannie, you were left behind. Now you have the power to solely get
Mhm.
rid of somebody else. And even better, you can take their money for yourself.
Oh, see, me and you are the only ones who are all in on like, we need to start giving these people the money. Like take the money. Vote the person that you vote out, you will get their portion of the prize part right now, Jeannie. But you have to pick somebody. And you in it, maybe you even say it has to be somebody from the leaders, it has to be somebody from followers, but make Jeannie make the decision, because it'll also make people second guess, who are we leaving for last? Who could the Mountain
Mm-hmm.
Keeper come in and reward later on? Do I want to leave Jeannie last? Sure, she could get cut, but if she's not cut, she might come after me. Maybe I leave Patty for last. Patty gets cut. This is tough. Okay, I didn't love that. But also, if Patty survives this, then maybe there was no world where Patty was going to vote me out. So I think it makes them play a little bit harder if you do it that way. And I would love to see the move that Jeannie decided to make, because you're right. There's a majority alliance already that's already in her ear. It's a 7, and there's only 11 people left in the game. So, if the 7 can get their eyes set on one person, they're like, all right, Jeannie, you know what to do. And we saw exactly what happened. Robert was the one left out.
Yeah, and why would she go against what the majority is telling her? Like, this isn't Big Brother, right? Where you can win power and make a unilateral decision mostly, because they Jeannie wasn't able to make a unilateral decision, which means that even if she does go against what they want, chooses the followers or chooses to side with the leaders and put the followers at risk, they just vote out a person that is not one of their numbers anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And next time when everyone votes again, she's just flat out screwed. Like there's nothing, like it's not like there's immunity. Like it's not like there's, any kind of,
Mm-hmm.
maybe there are twists here and there, but like if you have the majority against you, at some point or another at those checkpoints, you're gonna be voted out. So there's very little incentive to try to flip the script here.
Mm-hmm. And even I think immunity would also be something that would probably be great for something like this. Because then if you go against the grain and do something that's self-interested, you don't have to worry about immediately being retaliated against. Maybe just for one round. If you could say, okay, Jeannie, you were last, so you're good. You don't have to worry about it for the next checkpoint. And so that gives you a little wiggle room to work your way back in socially after you do something that's a little bit more cutthroat. Because like you said, it's just a numbers game. So if you're not in the numbers now, you're not going to be in the numbers next time. It's just unless Jeannie is working overtime to flip these 7 people in her favor, chances are when they take a next vote, it's just a few hand raises that'll get you out of here. I like that they divided it between the leaders and the followers, because that did add some intrigue, but it wasn't much
Mhm.
just because of the breakdown. For there to be 7 people, I think the 7 had the majority essentially on both sides. It
Yeah.
was like Patty, Becky, no, I'm sorry, Patty, Taran, and Pumpkin were all on the followers. And
Mhm.
then you had and Amy. So that was the 4 on the
Yeah.
followers that was gonna run today. And then as far as the other 3, it was Dusty, Nick, and
Becky Lee.
Becky Lee. Yeah. And so Robert and Dennis were just sitting ducks. And so I think that, maybe if it broke down a little bit differently, maybe we would have had a little bit more excitement. But still, they're trying new things to keep this spicing it up. And I don't mind. We got a few more episodes to go. Keep trying stuff. Let's see what sticks.
Yeah. We also we got to know they're doing they're very clearly, I think, following in the footsteps of Survivor. And Survivor has taken to doing this as well nowadays in the modern era, which is like somebody says something in confessional and then it ties into like their backstory. And then we get a little package of their backstory. And like this was just like the tragedy backstories. Like every single one of them was just like, yeah, so I lost my sister and my dad, and I almost lost my mom in a car accident, and it was like, oh my god.
Yeah. This felt a lot like the NFL draft. Hear me out. So years ago, I would watch the NFL draft, and what they love to do with like young black men who have made their way to college based on their athletic ability is talk about all the obstacles that they had to face to get here. And so they would be like, okay, this player from Michigan, he's probably going to get drafted first. Tell us about him. Well, his dad died when he was 1, and then his mom was on crack and she went to jail, and then the kid raised himself. And so crazy story, rags to riches. Boom. Okay, second pick in the draft. What happened with him? Ooh, well, triumph, story of triumph. House burned down. He was able to be, and I was like, we do that every time. Here, it's starting to feel like that as well. Like these are stories of triumph, but they all start with like stories of tragedy to kind of make you feel the impact of how far these people have come. I would really like to see them maybe just lean into like why these people are just good at stuff. Tell me why you're so good at this, Becky Lee. And we get the shot of Becky Lee just, like I practiced a long time, or, I used to play sports and stuff like that. Like, give me more of that than again, obviously triumphant stories of these people surviving and persevering, but, not leaning so much into the dark side of their stories, considering they could get voted off tomorrow and that would be the last thing we've heard about them. It's just like, yeah, remember that time? Remember Patty? Yeah, she was great. Ooh, sucks that happened to her mom though. Yeah, that sucks. Moving on. I don't want it to be like that. Give these people their flowers a little bit more. It just don't have to be a funeral every time.
Yes, and even like with Jeannie, it was like oh, I need some me time, and I think that's a perfectly valid story. But I feel like it's the exact same story we got from Amy at the beginning of the season, and it just feels like can we? I think we need some variety with our stories here. I think there was a clear casting, choice for like moms, tragic backstories. And thinking about it, it would be very fun if somebody was just on the show, just like, yeah, I just want to lie to people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what Dennis is.
Kind of, yeah. But it's still laced with like, the human portion of this, right? And I don't necessarily need the human portion if it's going to be sad. I don't mind it. Like, I'm not sitting here complaining and saying, oh, don't tell me these people's backstories, but they have a lot to their story, and so you could really tell me like, okay, well, we're getting a lot of Pumpkin. What is it about Pumpkin that makes her uniquely equipped to actually be able to do this? Like what is it? What's her superpower in this moment? Instead of, what is her villain origin story or her tragic backstory?
I think I've figured out, for me at least, like why it feels weird. Like on Survivor, this is a thing that people are a little mixed on. People don't love it when they go into the packages like this, but I don't mind it on Survivor. I think because they do try to keep it as relevant as possible to the events that are happening. Whereas in this show, not always. It feels like quite the non sequitur to go into like these various stories. And like at best, it's like, here's a hard situation I'm in right now. That reminds me of my other hard situations in life. And it's just like, I don't know if that's enough of a connection here.
Yeah, especially when you're not seeing the person actually triumph. Like let's talk about Patty for a second. She got a tough episode. She was like the terrain's whooping Patty's ass. We see Patty falling down and all this other stuff, and then we get Patty's story about her mom and driving several hours to to find out that her mom was in a car accident, but her mom survived. But then it's just like, yeah, so that's Patty. Moving on, it doesn't, we don't get the like, okay, thus Patty's about to have a big hero moment in this moment. Patty is a very interesting player to me though. I like that Patty is like has found an alliance in Dennis, but she
Mhm.
has like the scummiest alliance, like like in comparison to everybody else. She doesn't even trust him. She's saying, "Ah, man, Dennis is a liar, yes, but he's my liar. And so I kind of want
Mhm.
to keep him. And I like that. I like that because she's right. If Dennis isn't going to vote you out, I don't care if he's lying to the rest of y'all. He's keeping me in the loop. He's helping me up the mountain. I don't care. So I would like more of that. Talk about why Patty is okay with working with someone like Dennis. Give us Patty's outlook on the alliance breakdown. I think they can really lean into more of that because I like backstories. I do like learning about these people, but you can make it a little bit more fun.
Yeah. So what else, Chappelle? What else from this episode?
Just in general, watching the people climb is it's kind of interesting, but at the same time, it's it's rocks and stuff. So they went through some water this time. That was a change. I
Mm.
thought we were gonna get some weather. It doesn't even look. It looked like they waited to stop snowing completely before they started going back out there. So I don't know if they're ever going to actually deal with any of the the harsher elements here because they
Yeah,
just got to
Manu
sleep.
Bennett was like, "You're gonna deal with avalanches, blizzard."
Yeah,
It's like, no, they're not.
wait, really? Can maybe a little one? Like a baby avalanche? Can we do that? Just like I don't know, just throw some snow at them or something like that. I
Just
feel like
imagine the headlines of like CBS show. All of cast and crew got
right.
caught up in an avalanche.
Yeah, we had to stop filming for 3 days, but that made they met they missed their deadline, so they weren't able to actually win the summit. I started to question things. I said, okay, they're very obviously going to have a winner at the end of this, but if it's getting to the point where there's zero visibility, they have to sit out days, and we know the day counter is going to 14. There's a non-zero chance that they don't make it up the mountain. Maybe we get the helicopter coming in and be like, "You lose," and then they all just like, "Oh man," and then that's it, and we're like, tune in for the Summit season 2 next spring. I don't really know anymore. So there were a few interesting moments this episode.
Do you get to like sled down the mountain after if you lose?
I feel like you have to, right?
Yeah.
Like at the very least, we should punish you for not
Whee!
making it. Well, I mean, yeah, you could try to make the best out of it, but you still have to go down this cold ass mountain. Like we're not doing it. Like, even the moment when Jenny's hanging off the side, she's like, "I'm not moving." I said, "Okay, well now what are y'all gonna do?" Like
I would like to I would like to imagine that the second you get eliminated, they just leave you.
yeah, like all right,
Just, all right, see you later. Have fun
right.
getting back down.
Someone's coming up to get you. We don't know when. But none of our business. You said you were stopping. Goodbye. Give me your money.
Has anybody seen Bo since they've is he still hanging there on the
Oh
mountain?
no. We definitely saw Bo fall from his death. He is dead. T- Tony, however, no, Tony got medevac, so Tony's
He did
gone.
get
Uh,
medevacs.
so yeah, I think right now we haven't had enough we haven't had enough casualties. We've had the vote outs, but I think if you really want to up the scale for what the drama of this show is, you got to start leaving more people on the mountain. And maybe just even if it's just figuratively leaving them on the mountain. The vote outs are fun, but I think the goal here is to see who can hack it, and even if that's just socially, if you can put yourself in a place where you're not the best climber, but no one wants to get rid of you, cool. But I want to see that. I want to see that in action a little bit more than like, yeah, Jeannie, socially, you just weren't cutting it, but you're all right. You good. You good. Just go ahead. Try your best to see what happens. So,
Yeah. All right. Well, next time, I forget what they were doing, like a zip line, I think.
ooh, now that's exciting. Have you ever done a zip line?
I haven't done like a proper zip line before, no.
No, me
Like
neither.
I've
I've
done like
always
little like, little like tiny ones.
Oh no, I've never done a zip line. I've always thought like that looks really cool, but also I don't know if I would. Like I don't know. I think so there's this video that's like burned into my memory. I don't know why, but this woman is on a zip line and it's I think she has to slow down because there's a sloth on it, and so the sloth is just like crawling like a sloth on the zip line, and she's like, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god!" And the whole time I was like, "Yeah, I don't know." Sasha sent me that video, and the first thing she's like, the caption was from Sasha. She said, "I would have just died," and I always think about that. Like, man, would I do a zip line? Would I also be a sloth there? Would I die? So I'm very entertained and interested to see what's going to happen with that. Because zip lining seems like fun, if not over,
It
a mountain.
it feels like the most controlled way of like paragliding or like sky, maybe not skydiving, but like just flying through the air,
Mm-hmm.
on your own, as in like no craft of any sort. Which seems like a lot of fun.
It
You would
does.
just worry like what happens if it snaps, you know?
Right, and which brings me to my next point. I think we might have another bow coming because the zip line
Please.
is the perfect opportunity for, because it's something that you probably have to go across one at a time, like
Mhm.
like the bridge that we had. And then the last person, I mean, what's the, if the challenge is a zip line, that doesn't sound like much of a challenge to me. I saw Macaulay Culkin zip line in Home Alone. Like if this little kid could do it, I don't really think that these adults are going to have a struggle with that. But if you're last and you have somebody on the other side, and somebody on the other side who doesn't necessarily have to be that physical, to me, a zip line doesn't seem like that physical of a like activity. So there's a world where maybe Patty goes first. And if Patty goes first, who are we leaving behind this time? And does their rope get cut in the meantime? I would love to see that. I need the show to give us some more energy like that. So these people start to feel a certain way about being last, about being first, and about the decisions that they're making.
Okay, how about this? The Mountain's Keeper, instead of going to the people who've already gone, drops a
Mm-hmm.
bag to like the last few remaining people who haven't gone on the zip line yet. And what they say is, you guys are gonna have to choose one of you to go last, and the person that goes, uh, before or whatever. Actually, no, it shouldn't be to them because then they would know. Somehow you want to get a way to give somebody something to put on the cable so
Mm-hmm.
that it's like breaks.
Yes.
So like the last person that goes is like going down the thing. They're like, what is that on the thing?
Is that a
And
sloth?
then
Yeah.
stops them dead in their tracks. They're like,
Mm-hmm.
guys, guys, there's something on the thing. I can't. And they're like, it's okay.
It's
It's
fine.
it's
It's
okay,
fine.
Jeannie.
It's
You're gonna be
fine.
okay. Just stay there. You have some food, right? And then they
And
just leave them there. They
they
just
just
leave, and they're
leave.
just like,
Yeah.
guys, don't leave me. And they just leave. Sorry, we have a deadline.
Yeah, I'm telling you, they gotta lean into it because I think that it makes it have more stakes. Right now I think all of them are thinking as long as we stick together, it doesn't matter. We gotta push through. We'll be as long as we beat Nightfall, get to the checkpoint, we're fine. They basically leave Patty behind in this episode, and when she gets there, when she gets to the camp, they're already eating. They're like, "Oh, Patty, what's good?" So yeah, I want them to feel the pressure of what happens if we leave Patty. Like what do we what do we do if somebody is really slowing us down and we can't just go ahead and start eating the charcuterie.
It's not even a good strategy to let her lag behind like that because now she's on her own going even slower. She's like
Mm-hmm.
tripping and falling. Like when Robert went back to help, he was like helping her step through some things, like picking her up when she falls. Like she's going to
Pace.
be a lot
Mm-hmm.
faster if somebody's there helping her. So I think leaving her is not the call.
Yeah, me neither. But we'll see what happens next time. Because we're 4 episodes in. Do you know how many
4
episodes we have this
episodes.
whole season? Is it 10?
I think it might be 10, which is a lot of
Yeah,
episodes.
yeah, it's a lot of episodes. But that would take us probably up to December. So yeah, it sounds about right. So I'm very
Listen,
excited to see.
for me, the summit needs to start murdering more people.
Mm-hmm.
This
Mm-hmm.
summit has
Kill him.
murdered 2 people so far, Tony and Bo, and
Yeah,
those two happened in the first 2 episodes. We've now gone 2 episodes murderless. Okay,
I don't like that.
I don't like that.
I don't like that.
I w-
More murders.
I want Manu Bennett to be slashing people. I want people to
Yeah.
be falling. I need more murders on my mountain, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what I want from the summit. If we get to episode 5 and there's still no murders, I'm gonna feel a certain way about that.
Yeah, we might need to step in. I'll give Manu Bennett a call and tell him like, hey, Manu, step it up, start killing these people. What are you doing?
Yeah.
We're here for some bloodshed. But yeah, we'll see. We'll have to see.
All right. Well, that is what we have for you then today for episode 4 of The Summit. We'll be back next week. We'll see if there's any murders. And in the meantime, you can check out our scripted TV coverage over at We Know Scripted TV, talking about horror movies and shows this month on The Tastemakers over at We Know Scripted TV. If you want murders, there's plenty going on over there. Plus all of the other scripted shows that are happening. We give you all the updates over in the Tastemakers, so check that out. And then, plenty of other things going on. Check out the Big Brother postseason coverage and all that good stuff. Chappell, what do you got going on?
I got Recap Kickback. It's my home for spooky season as well. And so Mari and I are talking about Mr. Crockett this week on Hulu. Check it out. It's spooky. It's going to be a great time. We have a special guest coming on too, so you're not going to want to miss that. And then you can also catch the Zombie Kickback. We're doing the Walking Dead coverage right now, and they're doing some weird stuff on the Walking Dead, weirder than normal. And so check out our reactions, me, AJ Mass, Jessica Leese, and Josh Wigler over on our YouTube page, recapkickback.com slash YouTube, or youtube.com/@recapkickback. I think it's probably the real website. And then G and I are talking about Abbott Elementary every other week. So a lot of content over there. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms at Recap Kickback.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us this week. Don't get left behind. We'll see you next time.